everybody, it's Miss Lily. Today we're going to be going on a scavenger hunt in our backyards. And so I have this list right here that I'm going to be looking for things on. So you can follow with the same list as I have, or you can make your own list. It's just up to you. So the first thing we're gonna do is find how many different trees are in my backyard. So we'll go to this one first, and I'll tell you how you can figure out how a tree is different from another tree. First, you look at the bark. So you see this one's kind of dark. It has like a lot of this texture on it. And then if you look up, you can see how some of the bark is coming off of the trees. And then the second way is to look at the leaves. So you see that these ones are kind of round with a pointy end, and they're small. This tree has some pretty small leaves. So this is one. Then we're gonna come over here because I have another tree. So if we look at this tree, we'll see that the bark is almost white. It's a really light color. And this one is also kind of shedding, but it didn't look the same as the other tree. And then if we look up at the leaves, these leaves are pretty similar, but they're not exactly the same. So the biggest thing about this tree being different is that this bark is a different color, and it has lines across it. So we know that that's a different tree. So that's two trees. Now we'll come over here. So here's another tree. This bark has lines going down like that, and it also has little sections of bark. And then if you look up, these leaves are pretty high up, but these leaves have different sections on them. So here, we'll come over here so we can see a little bit closer. Look at how these leaves aren't just one point, there's 3 different sections of these, and then all of those sections have their own little points too. So we know that this is a different tree, mainly by its leaves. Now we'll come look at this tree. So right now we have 3 different trees. Now we look at this tree, we see that it has lines going down, we see that it has some sections, and so we're going to take a look at the leaves. Now these leaves look really similar to the other leaves. They have 3 sections, and they have little points coming off of each of these sections. So I think that this might be the same tree as that other tree that we just looked at. So I'm not going to count this as a new tree because it looks like it's probably the same tree. One more tree we can look at. So if you look at this tree, this has lots of knots on it. It has some pretty rough bark. And then the biggest tell of this tree is its leaves are actually pine needles. So they don't look like regular leaves because they're all pointy and they're all in different sections. So this is a pine tree, which means we have 4 different trees in our backyard. Cool. Our next item on our list is evidence of an animal. So I'm going to look around on the ground because I know that a lot of times I can find things laying somewhere on the ground. And I know because I walked out here earlier that I saw a feather somewhere. There's 2 different feathers. That's cool. See, we can see. Here's a feather right here. There's some white, and then this one actually has some orange on it down at the bottom. And then look, this is another feather. This one is longer, and it only has the feathers on one side of it. And this one's also gray. So I'm not a bird expert, but I think that these 2 feathers could have come from 2 different birds, which means we saw 2 different evidences of animals. That's pretty cool. Okay, So a home for an animal. So I don't know all about animals, but I know that birds make nests in trees. So that's the first thing I'm gonna look at. I'm gonna look up at our trees and see. I don't see any nests in our trees. I also know that sometimes animals dig holes for their homes. So I'm gonna look around and see if I can find any holes on the ground. I didn't find any holes either. So I don't know if I have any animals living in my backyard. I'll put a question mark there and maybe I can find some later. My next item on my list is food for an animal. I know just the place to look for that. So, besides a whole bunch of weeds in this garden, I also have raspberry bushes. So if you can see, this one has a raspberry on it. You see that raspberry? And guess what? It used to have another raspberry, but a little bird or maybe a little squirrel ate it. So we're gonna check that off on our list because we definitely have some food in our backyard. My next item is how many different plants are there? We have quite a few. So besides our raspberries and whatever else is growing in there, we also have these plants over here. All of these plants are called hostas. So that's 2. And then we'll go over here. We have another baby plant right here, and this one is called lavender. Lavender smells really yummy. So I think we have lots of little plants in our backyard, but those are pretty much the main 2 that I know that I have in my backyard. So I'm gonna put 2 different plants. Now, my last item on my list is something cool. I wonder if I can find something cool in my backyard. After looking around a bunch, I think I found something that I think is pretty cool. So back to our pine tree. Pine trees, when they get cut, oh, that's actually pretty cool too. I didn't see that. So this is called a cicada shell. So what it is it was a bug and it loses its outer shell so that it can grow a new one. So then it leaves its shell. Like this isn't actually the bug, it's just like the skin of the bug. And so it leaves that so it can grow a new and better one. So that's pretty cool, and that's not even what I was gonna talk about. What I was gonna talk about is when this tree gets cuts in it, it oozes this sap. So like you can see this one, it's like frozen. All of these little cuts, besides that, all of these little cuts have sap growing out of them. And you can see where it dripped a bunch of the sap. And so this isn't a maple, but also maple trees drip sap. And on maple trees, that's what people make maple syrup out of. They gather it from the trees, and then you can put it on your pancakes. So I hope that you all had fun doing this backyard adventure. Let us know what you guys find in your backyard. I'm gonna check off my something cool. Have fun, and we will see you all in our meeting. Bye.